Welcome back to Self-Invested, where we talk about how you can do better with money. In this video, I talk about Boris Johnson's announcement to reintroduce 95% mortgages. I'm going to be talking about why the government planned to do this, how it's probably going to work, who will be eligible, and when we're likely to see it. If this is your first time here, my name's Lemuel, and on this channel we talk all things personal finance. From paying off your credit card debt fast to investing in the stock market and everything else in between, including housing. If that sort of thing interests you, then stick around and I hope you enjoy the video. If you do enjoy the video, make sure to give it a like and subscribe to the channel to get more content like this. I'm going to start off the video by just giving a bit of background to 95% mortgages. Now, 95% mortgages aren't anything that's new. Pre-pandemic, mortgage lenders were actually offering 95% mortgages. But since the crisis happened, mortgage lenders have got nervous, so have started to take their 95% mortgages off the market. Because they're loaning such a high percentage of the property's value, it puts them at risk. If property prices were to fall and the people they lent money to were to default on their mortgages, so weren't able to pay back their mortgages, the mortgage lender could end up in a situation where they lose a lot of money. So because of that risk, they've decided to pull some of their higher loan to value mortgages out of the market. So much so that they've even removed 90% loan to value mortgages. So mortgages where you would normally have a 10% deposit and be able to get a mortgage, they've even removed those from the market. And it's all because mortgage lenders see the current market as very risky, with a lot of uncertainty in the economy, with people losing their jobs. But in addition to that, house prices actually going in the other direction and actually increasing. Now, the reason the government's keen to do this is because an active housing market needs first-time buyers coming into the market. The people that are most likely to make use of the 95% mortgages are going to be first-time buyers. By having them in the market, it actually increases demand. So first-time buyers will buy a home of somebody, and that person who they buy a home off will buy a home of somebody else, and there's sort of a knock-on effect that keeps the market active. If there's no new first-time buyers coming into the market, it actually slows demand. And if demand slows, then house prices are going to fall because there's less demand. And a consequence of that is that house builders are going to be more reluctant to build houses because there's less profit to be made. They're going to be building houses, but they're not going to be able to sell them for as much. And a consequence of that is that there's less construction work, less jobs in the market, and it just has a negative effect on the economy. So the government is actually keen to encourage first-time buyers into the market, and they see reintroducing 95% mortgages as a good way of doing this. So how will the scheme work? To be honest, it's not completely clear at the moment. Boris Johnson made this announcement in early October, I think it was October 5th, and he gave a speech where he just made this commitment that he was going to reintroduce 95% mortgages for young first-time buyers, but he didn't go into much detail. So we're going to have to wait to get some information, to get more information about how it's going to work. But we can look back at past schemes that were similar to this. Now, after the credit crunch in 2008, the government introduced this mortgage guarantee where they worked with lenders to provide 95% mortgages after the credit crunch. Now, this was because at the time, mortgage lenders were very nervous, and the government again had to do something, or felt they needed to do something, to encourage lenders to lend higher loan-to-value mortgages. This was one of the schemes under the Help to Buy banner, so it was called Help to Buy Mortgage Guarantee. There was no interaction between the government and the borrower. Everything happened behind the scene. All the work was done between the government and the mortgage lender. The government, underwrote the mortgage that was lent to the borrower. So the government guaranteed that the lender wouldn't be out of pocket in the event that the borrower was to default on the mortgage. I'm sure the scheme that Boris has announced is going to be something that's similar. It's not going to be anything that you have to apply to the government for. I'm sure there's going to be certain conditions about who's eligible, which I'll touch on later. But there's not going to be any interaction between the government and the borrower. I think most of how this is going to work is going to be behind the scenes, and it's going to be between the government and the mortgage lender. And I think it was The Guardian that I read. I'll provide a link down to the paper that I saw this in. They think that the scheme will involve the government encouraging mortgage lenders to relax some of the stringent tests that were introduced after the credit crunch in 2008. This will make it even easier for people to borrow, as well as being able to just have a 5% deposit and get a 95% mortgage. There's going to be less hoops for people to jump through in order to secure a mortgage. Now, I don't necessarily think that this is true or this is likely to happen, because I think merely by reintroducing 95% mortgages, it's going to bring a lot of first-time buyers to the market. I don't think they have to relax or loosen the testing in order to stimulate the market. The government should be reluctant to actually relax the stringent tests, because those stringent tests were introduced to prevent crisis like the one we had in 2008, where mortgages are being given to people that are unable to afford it. And when they're unable to afford it in default, the government's going to have to bail out the mortgage lenders. And when that happens, that's just going to put the country into more debt and cause the economy a problem. Who will be eligible? From what Boris said, I think it's going to be young first-time buyers. And he makes specific reference to first-time buyers or people looking to buy a property under the age of 40.
And the disgraceful truth is that levels of owner occupation for the under 40s have plummeted.
Also, he talked about individuals that were able to afford the monthly repayments but weren't able to save up a big enough deposit to actually secure a mortgage.
It is still true that the overwhelming instinct is to buy. And many of them simply can't. Not because they can't afford the mortgage, but because they can't afford the deposit.
So that makes me think that it's not likely that they're going to relax the tests that they have in place to see whether a borrower can afford the mortgage repayments, because he specifically mentioned people that were able to afford the mortgage repayments but were having trouble building a deposit. So that makes me think that it's going to be young first-time buyers under the age of 40 that are able to afford the mortgage repayments that this scheme is going to be targeted at. So finally, when will the scheme be available? Now, in Boris's announcement, he didn't go into much detail about when it will come into force, when this will be reintroduced. But I suspect that it will be introduced sometime after April 2021. I think there are quite a few schemes out at the moment, well, mainly the stamp duty holiday, which seems to be doing the job. It seems to be bringing a lot of people to the market, stimulating the housing market, so much so that house prices have actually increased faster than they ever have since, I can't even remember when. But I don't think there's anything they need to do until the stamp duty holiday runs out in, I think it's April 5th, 2021. So I think after that, once that has run out, I think this new scheme will be introduced and it will be focused on first-time buyers. It will be seen as a way to encourage first-time buyers back to the market, or to encourage lenders to provide mortgages that are more accessible to first-time buyers. Now, as I said, there isn't much information about the scheme at the moment, but if you do want to find out more about it and be kept up to date with any developments, make sure you subscribe to my channel, because as soon as there's another announcement or there's more information that's provided about the scheme, I'm going to make a video on it. So if you're interested, if it's something that you think will be of use to you in your home buying process, then make sure you subscribe to the channel, and I'll keep you up to date with any developments and try and break down any information as and when it becomes available. So that brings us to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you give the video a like, and as I said, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure you do subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment down below, let me know what you thought about the video. Let me know if you think 95% mortgages and the government reintroducing it is a good idea, and let me know also, will it help you get a mortgage? Please let me know down in the comments below, and until next time, take care.